Do-it-yourself pretty Halloween witch hats, adorned with velvet and absolutely gorgeous. You can make one of your own with the pattern that's included in this tutorial, or use a Dollar Tree find such as I have to model these witch hats. See how I made it? We are going to create labels and decals for this next DIY project. To get started, you will need Mod Podge, a good brush, and we are going to repurpose a label sheet. This previously had stickers on it. This would be your Avery sticker sheet, and I've used all the labels, and so the slick glossy side is what I am using. I've already got one coat of Mod Podge on there. You'll just need one thin layer, and you're going to let that dry. You'll need 2 more coats, so for a total of 3 coats before putting it in the printer. It's real simple to do. Once you've got one layer dried, you just basically take, the most minute, thinnest coat of Mod Podge to your area. Only need to put that very, very thin coat and spread it out on your sheet just as evenly as you can. Our sheet is now ready to be placed into the printer, and you can use inkjet or you can use laser. I have an inkjet printer and mine always goes face down. Now I've designed my labels or decals in the order that I want them. I want 2 of certain ones and 1 of another. So I did a whole sheet of 2.5-inch rounds. Now each one of these that you see on this sheet will be downloadable for free on dandelionsoup.com/blog. The link will be in the description box down below and here on the screen. All I have to do now is set this to print. So I'm going to set my request, let it populate onto the printing app. And as I said, you can go to avery.com, register your login, username, email, and password, and you can create projects there, and it will stay forever on Avery in your own account. You'll have your own project, so you can set up your own labels. You can do different things. It even has some characters. You can do color, text, everything, and then that way you can download it as well. And like I saved mine as a PDF file, and I also saved it as a photo file. So it depends on which way you want to go with it, but all of these will be on the blog and you can download them individually. Remember, if you are going to load them to a tablet or cell phone, just touch the photo and download it to your device. If you're on a laptop or a computer, right click on the image to save it to your computer. Printing really fast. It doesn't take it but a moment depending on your printer. And these decals are like mostly black and white. There's a little color on one of them. So here are my decals fresh off of the printer. And you can see how vivid that color is and how detailed each one is, as though it were on a blank sheet of paper. And they have a little bit of shine to them, and that's kind of normal when you're using the Mod Podge. And you'll be able to take and trim those, and we'll go to that step next. But I wanted to show you, if you've never done this method before, how you are literally going to have your own heat transfers that are usable on your lighter fabrics. If you put this on a dark fabric, I would tell you to use a background because these are translucent. And you can see them because they are on a white background. But basically, you would take and peel it up here, and it's going to be a very thin film. I'm pushing out with my nail, and you see how it's coming up. And you would peel that up, and then you can trim out your decal. Each one of these images is designed that it can be printed up to 8x10. So if there's a sign that you would rather use this on versus doing this Mod Podge method, you are welcome to use any one of these. I have this Dollar Tree Witch Hat, and I love these because they are great for truly making you some beautiful witch hat decorations. And just look around for the tinsel. Some people cut it off, but a lot of times it's more effective if you just find out where it starts and stops, and you can just really go through there and unwind it, and it only takes a moment to get it undone. And if you wanted to, you could technically use this for another project. A lot of times I will wrap this tinsel up and give it to the outreach mission, which donates things for different projects, including any churches and like senior citizen places. And then this little piece, I always keep the little buckle. That comes in handy. I've used this in Christmas projects, and depending on what I'm using, I may have used it on a Halloween witch hat. So that's just a neat little thing to keep. And then that little bit of purple is just twisted on there, just like a bread wrap, and it comes right off, and you already see the blank. We just now need to remove these little nubs here. They will cause an issue most of the time. I usually use the bottom to trace out a piece, and just use your scissors and you can go right through there and cut those little nubs off in just a second. So I have shown these to you before. This is widening or narrowing your margin. These cost less than $2. I'll drop you a link down below. This rim is 5 inches. I'm wanting to make it 8.5 inch taller. So your pattern that you will get, you'll see the link down below, will be for a 8.5 inch tall witch hat with a 6 inch brim. This currently 5.5 inches tall with a 5 inch diameter. I'm making it bigger because I want the hat to bend over. Let me show you real quick. This is a 1/4 of an inch, depending on what you're working on. Or you could do a 1/8, a 1/4, a 1/2, and 1 inch. I am making this 6 inches versus 5 inches that it currently is. It's super easy. It has a hole in it. You'll use an ink pen or a pencil so that the point goes inside of it. Lay it down beside of whatever you are doing. You're going to put your pencil in the inside, and even as long as you hold to it. If you need to reduce your size, then of course you would put it to the inside of your object and go around it, and you could reduce that same marking. It's just a great tool to have if you do crafts. We as quilters, we use tools like this. So this is actually commonly used by quilters, but for crafters, as many patterns as we have to make, this is the best tool in town, less than $2. Before I bought these, I had a 1/4 inch one that looks like a metal washer, and so of course I've always used a metal washer. It's just hard to find one with a small hole. They usually have a large hole, and that you just kind of have to really work with it or tape it up to reduce your hole. And so I've gotten washers and used it to extend my width. So there's you an idea too. You can use a washer or you can get these. So your pattern will be 2 pages. You will have the brim on 1 page with the cutout, and you will have the hat on the other page. You will have to print 2 8.5 by 11 regular standard paper to get your pattern because of the size of this. So now I have my brim made, and I'm using a cardboard circle as my center. You could use that center of your craft paper. Now, I'm telling you craft paper because it does need to be a little firm as a stabilizer. You may not even use a stabilizer, but in place of stabilizer, because we're extending it and we're going to be putting fabric on it, so that will help to bring that out to the edge, as well as give you that stabilizer that you'll need. If you're worried about craft paper, you can take the top off of cardboard, or if you do like me, I repurpose all of my sugar bags. guess what's on the inside lining of your sugar bag? Craft paper, and it is stiff like this. And I highly recommend that. All of them generally have it, and so I just take out the inside lining, and I use the outside as well because it's thick, heavy duty, and it's a heavier weight than cardstock. That is automatically already separated, so I don't waste anything. This comes in handy, especially when you're making like patterns where you want to reuse them. And the great thing is when they're firm like that, you can fold them, mark them for what they are, and put them all together in a nice little zipper folder or something. Now I'm going to be using fabric to cover my witch hat. Pay attention to which way your fabric is flowing, because this is going to be the top, or this is going to be your bottom edge. And you just want to be mindful so that when you start to cut your fabric, so now I can cut that out. So the first thing I want to do is I want to put my buffer paper, stabilizer per se, around this. And that's because it has these bumps on it from where I took the tinsel off. And I want it to be smoother, and this is going to help form that tallness that I was telling you about. So I'm going to glue this onto the plastic here and just form it around and get it attached, and then I can put the fabric on there. Now I'm going to put on my fabric, and the best way to do it is find your center point, and you want to just kind of drape it on there, finding your center. And once you've done that, you have pretty much kind of gauged it and posed it and looked at it. So now you want to put a spot of glue in that center area, and that'll kind of get your fabric held down so that you can begin wrapping it around your cone and get that into place. And that'll get you good and started. And I'm not doing mine real tight, I'm just getting it around there. And the reason being is when you begin to, because this is much larger, the base is small, so you're going to have your point coming up, and this back is going to come around a bit. But don't worry about it too much. If you don't get it perfect, it's no worries. Just don't feel like you have to get it perfect. So again, I'm just going to put a little glue back here to where I can get my fabric to stay in place. Because remember, we're making it taller so we can bend it over, so the fabric's actually going to go above the paper. And then just bring it around. It should fit just right. And you don't want it real tight down here at the bottom. You just want it to come about. Make sure that you don't have your glue piled up. So now I'm going to glue up this seam and put it on the adjoining fabric. This is going to add a good 3 inches above the actual cone. It stops here. That way we can roll it over. I have cut a piece as a buffer or as a stabilizer on the bottom and push it all the way down. You'll have 2 pieces of fabric. So one will go on the top here and the other will go on the bottom underneath. Now we want the 2 fabrics to cling to each other. So the first thing I want to do is I want to glue this fabric down to this piece of paper, which is this working as a stabilizer. Don't worry about up here, or if you're seeing paper, we're going to be covering that, so don't worry about it. The main thing is to kind of get that fabric glued to that paper first. So next I'm going to glue this bottom on, and we want these 2 fabrics to touch each other. So if you need to, you can actually trim away some of your paper. So basically I'm just going to stay right here on this paper. Now you can use tacky glue, or you can use fabric glue. You can even use your hot melt glue. But what my thing is I want these to be cohesive. I want those to fuse together so that you see no difference, and thus the very thin fabric and the stabilizer paper being shorter. I want those two to meet. So you can go about it, and a lot of times with this tacky glue, which is really good for this type of craft, it will be damp, but it doesn't take a whole long time, but it is permanent. So it's not going to come apart, and you're going to get high professional level when you start using tacky glue on something like this. And so you want to go all the way to the edge, and that's why I have my brush there. To me, it just seems to, I can get it spreaded all the way to the edge, and you use a lot less and it dries quicker, and because it does give you a longer working time. Alright, so now I need to let this tacky glue dry a bit, and it's almost dry. It will dry clear, so don't worry unless you've touched something or tacked it, and it's looking really, really good. All the edges are smoothed off, and if you do have any edges that are exposed, just trim them back with your scissors, and that is pretty much looking great. So just give you an idea, and this lintiness will come off from the glue if you use the tacky glue. Just a crafter's favorite. And you know, just kind of stay focused on your center, you know, what you're going to count as your center. Is create our decal and place it onto our hat. So let me show you a little bit of a tip whenever you're doing a fabric witch hat like we're doing. For example, if you will take your actual fabric and it's not too dark, like these are dark colors. I have an orange that I'm going to use here as the base for my decal. You can take and cut your actual fabric and do the reverse side. So flip it over and use the back side, put your decal on it, and then that way when you place it onto your hat, it's going to look more cohesive and probably show up your decal at the level you need it. If you want it to be very starring, then you can definitely do something of a lighter color and use that instead. So it's really a personal preference, and just like with this pumpkin, I'm going to place it on my hat, and I did the pumpkin. All I did was do the reverse side of the fabric, and I'll put the decal on it, and it still should look pretty clever. If it doesn't, then if it's not on the hat, then I can of course change it out and use a lighter color. Just an FYI. So I have my rounds cut out that will fit my round decal, and I can trim this out even more and make it more contour to fit my fabric, and then I will show you how I place it on the hat. And so you'll be able to trim it, and if you use that pencil, it kind of like perforates it, just like I'm doing right here. You can see me kind of tearing at it, and then you have your small decal, because I don't want all that Mod Podge. So I can go ahead and put that on there, and I can trim this off so that this Mod Podge that I have on here, all this extra that I'm not going to want on to my decal, I can just clip that away, and that's real easy to do, as you can see. Now, even though I tore this, I'm not going to need that Mod Podge. I only need the Mod Podge to fuse my actual verbiage and photo of my piece. That's why I wasn't worried when it began to tear. And this is what I actually want on my fabric, and that keeps it nice and clean. I have my Teflon sheet here. I'm going to lay it over top of it. Be sure not to move it. I'm going to take my mini press, and just in a second it will adhere it to that fabric, and it will be a permanent label on that fabric. Let the heat rise off of that for a second. Don't move it just yet. And voila. Now we have our decal made for our witch hat, and it's fused onto this fabric just right. It looks so good. And you can see the social club on it. Is I'll take my scissors and I'll trim up this circle or this shape and make it more contoured. I can even make it smaller if I want to at this point, because I now have my decal in place. So you can just really customize them and make them suitable. I can now use my tacky glue and put that onto my hat. I've got my decal and I'm pulling it back, and you'll just trim it up. If it tears because your Mod Podge is thin, don't let it discourage you, because that's pretty common and it will literally fuse back together. Where I'm working up here at the top, that seems to be the case up here where I've gotten it thin. So the Mod Podge is really flexible, and just do not let it discern you. So it will, you can literally lay that together and you'll never know that pulled apart as long as you don't stretch it. I have gotten velvet onto my orange one and onto the green one. And this velvet, they come in these small packs. I will leave a link for them. They came from Amazon and they're real easy to locate. And they're not cheap, just let me forewarn you. The velvet is got a little bit pricey, but it is well worth it because you see how gorgeous they are. The decals are on them, and these are being prepped. I'm going to do the blue one with you. These are double bagged. These are the smaller ones. There's only a yard. This is definitely long enough to do a couple of projects. But what I'm doing is, it is already like 1.5 inches wide. I'm just folding it in half, and I put it around my hat. And once I decide how long that is, I clip it off the length that I need. So I'll go ahead and I put it around. Now I am ending mine on the side versus the back, and that's really how I decide to do it. So like I said, if you had anything exposed down here, like you can see a little bit of the stabilizer on this one, it's not going to be seen once you put all of your trimmings on it. Now with velvet, it has a little bit of a stretch to it, so you don't have to be spot on, but you want to be pretty darn close before you clip it. Alright, to do this part, I literally take and lay it out, and I run a strip of glue, just a small amount of glue, right across there so that I can fold it in half. And be very shy and shallow on that glue. You do not want it to be thick. You don't want it clumped to get it pinned together. And you're going to fold it in half on this 1.5 inch velvet. Now you can pick any kind of ribbon that you want. I'm just showing you how I trim these out. And so now it is ready to go around the hat. So that takes care of the velvet part. And when I go to glue this, it's going to be inconspicuous. No one's going to note it. And I just once again put a very small amount of glue. And then this side is going to be the same way. And I make sure that they are even Steven. I want them to be together. Just be careful. You don't want to get glue on your hat. And just looks so beautiful. They turn out so gorgeous. I'm so pleased with them. Now, the next thing we want to do is make a bow. Some of you have seen me demonstrate the bow maker. I'm going to put my extra amount of ribbon on the left side, and you'll understand here momentarily. If you are right-handed, you want to put your extra on the left side of you. This is how it works. I am doing a very small bow for these, and I'm just going to bring it around my 2 pegs. Now, I'll leave a link for this bow maker because it is a sensational, reasonable price. And as you can see, I have about 4 inches of ribbon coming out to the right side. This is what happens. This is why you want your extra on the left. You have a working ribbon, which is flowing currently on my right, and then you have an anchor ribbon, which is currently on my left. We are going to cross these just like that, and my working ribbon is now in my left hand, and my anchor ribbon is now in my right hand because I'm right-handed. So see how I'm holding to that anchor ribbon. I'm going to take the working ribbon, I'm going to push it underneath all of it, and it's going to come up and over the top. Now, with me keeping it so short because I don't want to waste any of this velvet, I'm literally bringing it over the top, and I'm going to be holding to it pretty snug because this is my anchor ribbon in my right. And I'm going to have to use my fingers because I'm not wasting any of this ribbon. I'm going to take the tail of this one. I'm going to go across my anchor ribbon, under it, and up through a hole. If you were doing a number 4 across that, you're going to be taking that tail up through the center. And then I am going to pull it up. And if you watch me, I'm going to pull it up and over to the right. Now I can slide that knot back and forth and get it situated where I want it. But now I'm pulling it up and over to the right. My anchor is staying down here to the lower left. You can do the opposite, but when you get ready to pull it, just make sure one is going up and over to the right, and the other one's coming down and over to the left. Normally you do the opposite, but for me, this works better. Slide it off the pegs, and voila, you have your bow. Remember, your ribbons flow out the back. So when you turn it around, you're going to take and just straighten your tails out, because I pulled mine the opposite way, so that made mine flow oppositely. So you have your ribbon bow made. And now all you have to do is trim off any of your tail here. And I'm leaving a slight tail on mine, so I want to make sure these are the same size when I go to clip it. So what I do is I generally fold them together. Now remember, velvet, it has a pile on it, so it shifts on you, and you just want to press it towards you. You don't want to like mash it, because if you do, it's just going to push it out per se, because the ribbon has a pile, so it'll shift on you. And now I have this beautiful little velvet bow that's going to be adorable on my hat. But that's a little bow. It's actually a 2-inch wide, difference. You got 1 inch of bow on each side, and then of course your knot. And now I'm ready to put my bow right here in the center of my little hat. A very small amount of glue. I rub mine out. I'm not going to have a pile back there. I don't want a pile. I want enough to connect the bow without it falling off or being dangly. Line it up, put it to the velvet, and that part is done. Now we have this beautiful, adorable little witch hat, and this is a fancy witch. Very shabby chic kind of witch, and that's the kind of stuff I like. In the meantime, I had glued my decal into place. I fused it, but then I used tacky glue and spread it out and adhered it to the fabric. I sewed on these pumpkin bells. These pumpkin bells, I will leave you a link in the description box for them. You get several. I think it's 25 or so in a pack. It's maybe more than that. And they're very, very reasonably priced. Just a spot of glue underneath, just so I can make sure the jack-o'-lantern is facing this way, so that when it's sitting, you can see it. And you already seen that I used a clip to bow my hat tip over, so it'll stay in place, and then that way the weight of the jack-o'-lantern will pull it over. If you needed to, you can bend it more, you can do more with it, because we put the paper in there, and that helped us to shape it. So next, let's decorate a little bit more on our hat. Now I've got some Sweet Annie here, and I will also leave you a link for this. I get this from Etsy, and the seller, as you can see, this is a very fair amount. It comes in a box. It is the broken pieces from when they actually harvest it, and you truly get a box full of these little pieces. Just look how big these broken pieces are. That is more than sufficient for what we do, and it smells delightful. If you're wanting to fool the situation and make it look like it's more than what it is, the umbrellas of branches going up on it, if you go in between them and snip, you leave those up tall, it's not noticeable that you cut the top. So when you go to pile it, it looks like you have even more, and you can just separate it out without overdoing it. And then, of course, I can place those there, And if I want to do a little bit more, and then I'll put a dab of glue once I get these housed in there exactly the way that I want them, or I'm sure that's what I want. So how you think that looks? Looking pretty neat. These have turned out so beautiful and lovely, just like they are, that I don't want anything to take away from the velvet bow and the fabric. It's really about showing off that hat. And the Sweet Annie is just a nice little touch going right into the brim there. It is just lovely, just like that. I really, really am pleased. So definitely make you a witch hat. If you'd rather purchase than to make, check the link in the description box right here on the screen. Well, these witch hats are absolutely beautiful. And Halloween can be very pretty, used year-round, or get it out seasonally. You already have the pattern. So this is Elizabeth. Until the next DIY, well, I'll be crafting y'all. Happy Halloween and a pretty witch hat to top.